This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. Most any contemporary musical style can trace its roots back to the blues. Time Signatures explores the blues and its musical connections with captivating interviews, lively discussions, and news from the world of the blues.
You know I'm crying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, thank you very much, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures with Jim Ervin. That's me, and as you can tell, we are oot in a boot. We are in the city of Lansing in Old Town. And
sounds like you're from Canada.
You know, the music scene in the greater Lansing area was arguably at its peak in the 1980s and 90s. We had a great variety of bands, including some classic rock, country, blues, and even one or two that defied definition by any particular genre. Such is the case with my next guest here on Time Signatures. Now, I've got to tell you that I really am a fan of Mystic Shake. They only put out a few CDs, but every one of them was a great deal of fun to play and listen to. They kind of reminded me of Dennis Preston. I actually told them before we started the program today, and his friends on their latest CD entitled West of Wacusta. This disc is just a group of guys out on the back deck of their buddy's house and recorded it for posterity's sake. And trust me when I tell you, I love that CD. Dick Montrose, Ben Hassenger, welcome to Time Signatures.
I think it's Dick Rosemont we want to talk to.
Well, I want to
Montrose, that was another
Dick
band.
Montrose.
That was a different band. He was a...
Oh, man. All right, so you guys got me.
You've never heard how my name has been mangled.
Yeah.
So.
And I actually got yours right.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I've been nosing around your website a little bit, Ben, and this is the only place to find information on Mystic Shake. And I found something that said this: Mystic Shake was an incredibly innovative, eclectic, and fun band from the Lansing, Michigan area. And following their farewell show on December 5th, 2010, Mystic Shake will live on in the memories of their devotees in their 3 CDs. What a great place to start. I mean, kind of starting at the beginning, but at the end a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we had been together in various forms for, about 20 years, I think, Dick. And Dick and his wife, Jane, were moving to Santa Fe, and we decided we needed a send-off.
Sure.
And so the Sir Pizza in Old Town was one of our favorite haunts. And we decided to have a big old party, and it was a great way to send off the band. It was some kind of party.
And this is the same Mr. or Sir Pizza that's up there on
Cesar Chavez.
Yeah,
yep.
Chavez.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's very cool. That's very cool. Now, Dick, I wanted to step back a little bit with you. When you started putting things together in the late 80s, you were doing so because you had recently taken up the drums, yes?
Correct. Yes, I had played guitar in typical rock bands starting way back.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I was always interested in playing drums. But it was hard when I was in a rock band in the early days to be uninhibited on somebody else's drum kit,
Yeah,
especially if they were present. So in the late 80s, I used Ludwig kit, and I figured, well, it's depreciated as far as it will, so if I need to get my money out of it, I'll be okay. So the idea was to play rhythmic music and being the drummer, but it was a slow rise trying to put a band together while I learned to play. Then, if you want to tie this to blues, I was the original drummer in the Downtown Blues Band, which evolved into Root Doctor.
Yeah, that's, you know, when
so I was
Go ahead.
Well, I was actually trying to put together what became Mystic Shake, and at the same time, I'm playing weekend gigs with Uptown Blues Band, and that was a great education in a sense. It gave me the confidence and experience of playing regularly, and then as as Mystic Shake began to form in its earliest incarnation, Mystic Shake was on double bills with Uptown Blues Band at Rick's in East Lansing.
Oh, wow.
So I would be playing with both bands.
You had some tight arms, huh?
And of course, you got paid twice as much, right, Dick?
Yeah.
But I remember seeing the Downtown Blues Band playing in the old Knapp's building.
Exactly.
Back in the day with Scory was playing organ or piano, and Freddie, of course, and
Scott
Bill.
Allman was the original guitar player.
Scott, that's right. Scotty was in that band.
Yeah.
That's right. That's probably around when I first really got to know you, I think.
And James Williams, who still is around.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the original group. And that band, Uptown Blues Band, was just assembled because there was a gig at Tango's in the old Knapp's building.
Tango's, that was
and we
the name
didn't know
of
if it was going to be. We didn't know if it was going to be, one weekend or a month or what. But it was ongoing. It just turned into something. And of course, the Ides in their vision, it wasn't good enough, so it went away. I don't know. I don't know what was behind it. But that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. But it was interesting to get that experience at the same time of putting together Mystic Shake and the fact that we did play gigs together. So it was a long night for me at Rick's a couple times when that happened.
Well, Dick, I want to circle back to this a little bit later, but I have to tell you, when I first started the program off, I did the first 2 episodes with Freddie and James Williams, and those are worthy of listening to. And then also, when you get a chance, we've already played 2 episodes. We're about to play the 3rd, so I know I'm kind of dating myself here, but you need to check out the interviews that I did. It was a lot of fun with Mike Scory and Jim Alfredson, and they talked about a lot of the early stuff. But I want to step back with you for just a minute and circle back to Mystic Shake. Where did you come up with the name? I absolutely loved it, but where'd you come up with it?
Well, as the group was gelling, I was the one that was kind of the spark. I don't know if I'd say the spark plug, but I was the one that had the most opinions. And I came up with pairs of words, and I thought it was intriguing enough yet broad enough. Mm-hmm. And the shake part could designate the rhythm orientation of the band. I mean, music was very rhythmic, be it blues. We did play in the early days. We actually did play some blues songs. The original members of Mystic Shake. I mean, we played a Stevie Ray Vaughan song, etc. So, and I was interested in reggae and world music. So it kind of denoted the shake could be tied to rhythmic, if you had a mind for that.
Sure.
And it just, didn't really say anything, but it could be intriguing.
So when you came back to dedicate your full attention and efforts to Mystic Shake, at that time you called your musical style like a rock and rhythm and reggae, but you continued to sprinkle in some other musical twists, didn't you?
Yes. And a lot of that would depend on who was in the band as members came and went. Mm-hmm. And, I started to actually try to write songs, which I'd never done before. And Phil, the guitar player, he played guitar and flute and sang, and he was interested in more out there kinds of songwriting, and that was interesting. So Phil Troop. Okay. And so, I don't know, there wasn't any conscious path for this. Things just evolve, especially when you're younger. You're not thinking in the big picture about, well, let's talk about this 30-some years later. Right. So, as often happens organically. Sure. And then as, I'm jumping ahead, but as members came and went, and when Ben joined, he was doubling on keyboards, and that offered another flavor to the band. And then he started to come forward with a lot of his songs and such, and that's what became Mystic Shake in the latter years.
Very cool. Now, you guys recorded your first CD at a local church, right?
Yes.
I got to hear that story.
Well, we wanted to do it live, because, when you overdub instruments and all that, it's just not the same. Plus, there's an efficiency factor. If you can get the whole band together.
Sure.
And our friend Glenn Brown is, an engineer extraordinaire.
Oh yes.
So we figured he could manage that. So we set up in that church. Do you recall the name of the church, Ben?
I even forgot we recorded in a church, to be honest with you. But now,
Oh, we did. Absolutely.
yeah, no, I remember, and we had Scory sit in on a song.
Albert it's at Albert and Hagedorn.
Albert and Hagedorn.
I
I know which church you mean.
shame on me for not writing it down, because I was going to write it down and I didn't.
That's not
You can look
Edgewood,
inside the
is it?
disc. Maybe it says. But the idea was to play as a group,
Sure.
because that's a different dynamic. And it was a little tricky because we had scratch vocals at times, but they weren't the finished vocals, because we wanted to concentrate on the instruments. And it's a little tricky because sometimes the vocals have cues within the song. So that was a little interesting, especially when you go back and try to add vocals to something that may not have been set in stone. But, I was happy with the sound. Glenn was just, top notch in that regard. So it was fun to do.
And Ben has the
And,
name of the church too.
Edgewood United. I was right.
Okay.
There you go.
Good.
And it seemed like when you
Well,
said
and-
that was it. Go ahead, sir.
And if you, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, also on that live recording, we had two guest mics, as in Mike Scory and Mike Lynch.
That's right.
And they
Lynch
played
was on
live
that
with
too.
us also. They played live with us also.
See,
So it was
he's peeking-
some of those recordings.
Dick is peeking at my notes here because I actually got the two mics listed here. that
Oh,
we're
you
gonna-
do, yeah.
Yeah.
Lynch actually filled in with us a few times. One of my favorites was we played at a big fraternity party in the basement of. I think it's a Quality Inn now. It's by Whole Foods and everything on Grand River. And we were I think that's the one. Is that the one where the cops came? I forget. But I remember we were playing and we were doing this really cool version of Green Onions, and of course Mike Lynch is playing, and this guy came up, might have had one or two beers, and he comes up and says, "Oh man, I just love that song." And we're going, "Oh, cool. He knows the song." "Yeah, Green Sleeves, man. Green Sleeves, that's my favorite song." I don't know why I remember that, but
Well,
Yeah, because that wasn't even a song that was in our repertoire.
no,
But
it's just we had
obviously
Lynch
it's easy enough
there.
to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, he definitely added. He was a periodic sub, and as was come on.
Ryan Heffron subbed quite a few times with
Brian
us.
Heffron, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Playing ukulele and banjo.
We're jumping ahead, but yeah, as the band evolved from a typical electric group to an amplified acoustic group, that sort of changed the dynamic and allowed people like Brian Heffron to fit in.
sure.
Right.
You're listening to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin. We've got Dick Rosemont. I got it right that time. And Ben Hassenger with me today.
No, Ben Springsteen, I thought it was. Yeah.
of the band Mystic Shake. And just kind of going back and reliving some of the glory years here. Guys, I have to ask the question. I mean, I would assume that music still plays a pretty significant part in your life. Do you both write music? And if you do, talk about that creative process. Actually, Ben, you haven't talked a whole lot, so I want to start with you, man.
Oh, you're going to regret this. Music is my whole life, actually. Sure. Every job I've had since I was done delivering papers has had a music involvement somehow, which Dick's has as well in different ways. But in 2009, I went to Hawaii, and believe it or not, there was an ukulele festival going on.
Now, you're pronouncing it ukulele. That is the correct pronunciation?
Yes.
And you would know this why?
because
What's your title?
I'm the ukulele ambassador of Michigan.
There you go. I
That's
wanted to
right.
give you an opening there.
the great uke state of Michigan. But I went to Hawaii, and there was this great festival going on, and everybody was just having a wonderful time. And I gave a call to my friend Stan Werben, who owned Elderly Instruments, and said, "You've been right all this time." He's been a proponent of the ukulele since the 70s. It was the instrument of the 70s. Well, that didn't happen. It's the instrument of the 80s. Finally, it was the instrument. And I said, "You've been right all along. Let's get some things going here." So I started the Lansing Area Ukulele Group. A couple years later, we started Mighty Uke Day, which is now a weekend-long festival. Okay. And that, among other things, that funds a nonprofit I run called Music is the Foundation that supports music programs in libraries, schools, senior centers.
So this is kind of like the blues in the school program, but for ukulele.
We use ukulele. Yep.
Yeah, very cool.
Yep. So, and then Dick's had some nice adventures down in Santa Fe, I know.
Right. Well, let's back up slightly.
Okay.
When Ben went to Hawaii, I said to my wife Jane, "I bet he's going to come back with an ukulele." So he didn't, but it was all in his head.
Oh my goodness!
It just took off from there. And not only does Ben pronounce ukulele the technically proper way, but he also said Hawaii.
Yes, I know. Yes, I caught that. I caught that.
So, yes, but music's been at the center of much of what I've done. I started playing in bands. Should I say 1963? This was just before the Beatles broke, and I saw the influence the Beatles had. I was playing guitar at the time.
Sure.
And then I started working in public radio at WKAR, the Michigan State's public radio stations. In the early days of NPR, I was doing a subversive underground rock music show. Wasn't really subversive, some would call it that, on a classical station. Then I started buying and selling records, and I've been doing that for 48 years, and I can't stop.
So,
as far as, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, now you started Flat Black and Circular in East Lansing, correct?
Yes.
And that was what year?
My partner and I, 1977.
Okay.
Prior to that, I had worked at the first used record store in town called Wazoo, which was in the State Theater building across from Beggar's Banquet on Abbott. And coincidentally, the guy I was working with there, 2 years into that, he decided to move to Hawaii. He still lives there. Anyway, I had met my FBC partner, Dave Bernath. He called me one time. People would call the radio program I was doing on WKAR. He was one of the callers, and we met, and we just started hanging out. He was a music fan, record fan, and then we decided after my friend was leaving Wazoo, I didn't want to keep working for an owner, and so I decided I can do this myself. And Dave and I had the idea to do it ourselves, and because I knew Stan and Sharon, who had started Elderly Instruments in the basement of the 541 building, I went and asked them who the landlord was, and that's how FBC ended up in the same building, although on the upper level where Elderly had started.
Okay.
So these connections just continue. You know, you hang around town long enough, and if you're in the music world, the circles intersect.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's one of the things that I've noticed in the early going of time signatures. You know, I've talked to a lot of people in the greater Lansing area, and there is a lot of intersection of circles. And I think that I think it's an incredibly cool thing to be able to see how these people's lives have all kind of just mixed together.
Yes, giant Venn diagram of all these intersecting circles.
Absolutely, and it's kind of cool because, I mean, it's still going on today. There's still that intersecting of lives and interests and different things. You know, so it's a lot of fun to dig into the history and talk about this a little bit and be able to discuss the early parts of your musical career and what you've been doing since.
Well, I've got one thing I have to bring up.
Well, please.
Because
by all means.
Dick was talking about his subversive radio program. Well, when I graduated from Everett High School and went to Lansing Community College, I reconnected with a friend from Everett who was a year ahead of me, and his name was Gene Hayhoe. And Gene and I hit it off right away with some just very wacky sense of humor and a love of music. And we had a band called Utter Chaos, and that's UDDER. And we managed to get arrested in the cafeteria at the community college.
Wow.
Yeah, for playing Smoke on the Water on accordion and trombone, singing in animal sounds. You know,
I wish I could hear that.
We had a whole bunch of tapes,
What kind
recordings
of
of us. Oh, well, whatever, cats, dogs, we didn't do giraffes because they don't say much. But,
Right.
oh no, that's part of my bio on my site.
Okay.
Well, that gives you cred.
Hey,
Ben.
street cred, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
I even had a red file on the state police for being a subversive because of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I never got that lucky.
Hey, at least you weren't flipping cop cars in East Lansing, right?
No, burning couches. We didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
I was reporting on it. I was out in the field sometimes for some of the anti-war protests in East Lansing. I still have audio footage of some of that. Anyway, so we really sidestepped your previous question. I'm still involved in music in Santa Fe. I still have an operation, a retail operation, buying and selling records. And
you're talking about out there?
Yeah. Yes, in Santa Fe.
So you actually, so then when you moved out Santa Fe and you retired, you sold?
I didn't retire. I just relocated.
Relocated? Yeah.
And I didn't know for sure what I would do, but I couldn't stop with records. And, if it's an interest in music, interest in records, and interest in people, because when you're a used business, you really get to engage with people, both buying and selling. And that's a big part of it. And I don't know how to wind this down after 48 years of doing this. But in addition to that, I play in 2 different street bands.
Wow.
And if I hadn't taught myself drumming to whatever extent I could, I wouldn't be in a street band playing guitar or piano. And so that's been pretty fun. It's a New Orleans type band with horns and percussion and sometimes dancers. So that's a whole new realm of music performance for me.
That sounds like a lot of fun, man. I'm going to have to come out to Santa Fe and check it out. It sounds like fun.
Yeah, I've seen some video of it. It's amazing.
Yeah, Santa Fe is an unusual town in my perspective. It's small. It recently went from 70 to 80,000, not because people moved here, but they moved a boundary. But it's for its size, an awful lot goes on. And it's an older population, but it's an active older population. People don't move here to play golf. There's a ton of musicians here, entrepreneurial, artistic people, political. So it's a lot goes on for its size. It's the 3rd largest art market in the U.S. for a tiny town. But and tourism's big, so I get to engage with people from all over the place. Currently, the Santa Fe Opera is in its season, and people come from around the world for this. It's an outdoor opera.
That's amazing.
Facility.
That is amazing.
Anyway, we don't need to talk about that. We want the blues. Give me the blues, man.
Are you still playing a little bit of blues out there in your playing?
Well, I mentioned I'm in 2 different street bands.
Sure.
One I'm dedicated to, and that started with kind of New Orleans style blues.
Right. Very
which
cool.
was our inspiration. And, and even Mystic Shake has got me thinking about one of the songs in particular that Ben wrote called Woman Like That. And I played a New Orleans rhythm to that song, and it would be perfect, in a full band situation. We did it on the live acoustic disc.
Right.
But the song itself, it really would lend itself to an arrangement of a full band in a New Orleans style. Of course, the song's about New Orleans as well.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
We definitely have more to talk about, but we are just about to the end of this first episode.
You're kidding.
Can you believe it?
Oh man, this is going to be like the mini series of Mystic Shake here.
Well, and one of the things that I like about what I do is I just let guys go like you guys are doing here. Just turn you loose and reminisce and talk about the times that you did this, that, and the other thing. And I absolutely love learning about the history of the music in the greater Lansing area. Of course, it's not limited to, solely to the Lansing area, but we definitely, this is the focal point. This is the beginning and then just kind of out branching from there. But we've definitely got more to talk about. My guests have been Dick Rosemont and Ben Hassenger, and we are going to stick around. We're going to have them back for one more round, if you will. And is that something you guys would like to do?
Sounds great. Sounds great.
I'm ready.
Sounds good. Well, we are going to take a quick break and definitely want to invite everybody to hang around and be here for the next edition. In the meantime, this is your job to help keep the blues alive. We will see you on the next episode.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.